I'm introducing for tonight's event how to invest in self-storage and become financially independent. And Ruben Ugarte is the expert tonight who's going to present how he's become financially independent and not financially free because it's a business, right? So the difference between financial freedom and financial independence. So the first step is financial independence, then the next step is freedom. So Ruben's taken that step into financial independence through multifamily investing, and now with 2 properties. Is that right, Ruben? It's 2 properties? You can just nod. Yeah. So two self-storage properties, and Ruben will tell you all about how he did that and how amazing those investments are. So huge synergy, Ren. Welcome for our expert real estate investor. All right.
Hey, can I say something about Ruben before he takes the spotlight?
Yeah.
Well, I remember the first time I ever meeting Ruben. So shy, so quiet, and at our live presentation, and then he's talking. I'm just a humble investor from a third world country or developing country like Vietnam. And, I like this. I like to learn more, to invest more. And look at him today, right? We're talking about massive action. Guys who have been around Synergy for the last 5-6 years who hasn't done anything, guys, look at him, Ruben. This is what you need to do. Get off those chairs and do something. Do a ton of things. Look at Ruben, right? So anyway.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for that.
Very inspiring. I love it. If Ruben can do it, you can do it, in other words.
You're right. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I think most of the real estate investors that I know started with almost nothing, like myself. Yep. I mean, I didn't have anything, and I built a huge portfolio just by partnering with passive investors. And they've become wealthier. I've become wealthier. Ruben's going to tell you about how he's going to do that for investors as well and for his business. So it's all yours, Ruben. I'll stop sharing, and you go ahead and start your presentation.
Okay. Let me just share here. Okay. Well, I'm just going to move you to the center. Okay. Well, thank you, Rick, and thank you, Sua, for allowing me to come in here. And I really do miss the live events. And hopefully we're gonna get back to that soon and being in front of people. But in the meantime, we can share the knowledge and what I can do from this event. And if you're recording it, so other people will be able to see it. So I have divided the presentation basically in 2 parts. One is talking about self-storage and the industry and some about the demand. And the other one will be a case study, a real case study of a property that we acquired September of last year. And when I say we, my main partner is my wife, Marilu, that she's sitting here, and she's gonna come at the end to say hi. But we've been working, I would say, a lot to put this property where it is today, and you will see the change. If anyone wants to ask a question in the middle, just raise the hand or ask Rick, and I can stop. So this is very interactive. It's not because I'm just talking in front of the camera here and the phone. So all right. So this is an actual picture of the facility that I'm gonna show. It's called Extra Storage Champlain. So we'll go into that in a minute. So I'm gonna cover the self-storage as an investment, and then I'm gonna go into the story. How this property happened to come into our portfolio, and the investment mistakes and all of that. So these are actual pictures of that place in Champlain. So following this sequence, what do you think when you hear self-storage? Do you think about this? See these facilities, how shiny and bright they are. And in reality, self-storage is becoming now like hotels. The new facilities that are developing now, the big companies, they are really like hotels, like that green one right there you have in there. You can see some of the ones around, if you live in this area in Vancouver, all the ones that are coming up. Or what happened if you hear self-storage? Do you think about this? So those pictures, actually, the one on the top is a real one. This is one of the units on that facility in Champlain when we went the first time. So see how, how nice that, is all arranged in there. But yeah, some facilities may look like that. I mean, we have converted Champlain and not like this. So depending how you see self-storage, then you will say, okay, well, it's a good vehicle for investment. But after the 40 minutes that I'm going to be here, my mission is to change in, the perception of self-storage as an investment vehicle. Like Rick was saying, to get to financial independence, financial freedom. So let's see. This is very sensitive. So I listed in here kind of some of the top reasons of why to invest in self-storage. In this industry, there are different ways to increase the value. You can rent containers, deliver containers to the homes and bring it back. You can rent trucks. You can rent boxes. Besides the storage part of it, right? You can do parking, RVs, car, boats, which we are doing. And you can do also home pickup. This is an interesting and very novel system now. And actually, there is one company in Vancouver, here in Vancouver, that they are doing that. You call them, they come, they pick up the stuff, they bring it to their storage, and they keep it in there. So it's a home delivery pickup. Another big advantage on this industry is that the losses for non-payment of rent are very, very low. And I can attest to that because we've been operating a self-storage facility for more than a year and a half now, fully. And the rent losses are, I can say, almost zero. Compared to the losses that we incur in the apartments buildings due to the pandemic and all of that is like black and white. So the skyrocket in demand, that is all over, everywhere in Canada, the US, and other countries, but especially here in Canada, the demand is going up for different reasons. So I have a slide that I'm gonna illustrate that. There is a high cash flow. This is a high cash flow industry, low cost. Now, it doesn't mean that every single self-storage facility works. I mean, there are certain criteria that you have to meet, or the facility has to meet, in order to make it work. So it's not that they call it cash cows in some circles, but not every facility is like that if you don't do it correctly. Definitely, it's a low risk. It is on the top 3 assets in real estate with very low risk of default. Actually, in some of the parts that I'm seeing is number 2. Number 3 is apartment buildings, or number 4. So self-storage is on top of apartment buildings in terms of default. Now, one big difference and I'm gonna keep talking about apartment buildings, and just to illustrate the difference, we don't have tenants, we have clients. So that's one of the big difference. And what is the meaning of that? That we don't have a tenancy act. We don't have to go through tribunals. We don't have to evict people. They store things and their stuff in the units. So if we have to take possession of one of these units, we are taking possession of stuff, material, not a people, not a family. So that's a big difference in terms of defining a client and a tenant. And one of the good things, I guess, for us, the facility owners, is that there's not a very rigid tenancy act like in the tenant board. There is one in Ontario. It's called the Storage Act, and so we go by that Storage Act, which has some terms, like in case that there's some legal issues. You can leverage other people's money, which is basically what we do, and then at the same time, all of us in the group benefit. The technology is advancing very, very fast. Now you can open the units with the phone. You can rent online, like in our systems, almost everyone rents online. So it's a low management because the facility is unmanned. There is no one at the facility 100%. We have a property manager, but it's not at the facility 100%. So that low management part right there is also a differentiator between other type of assets. So let me explain the low expense to income ratio. And we have data for that. We have several apartment buildings in Ontario, and those apartment buildings operate between 55 and 65% expense to income ratio. So that's about the number in all the expenses. The self-storage operates between 35 and 40%. So right there, you have about 20 points difference in profit, because that expense that we don't incur in the self-storage goes directly to the bottom line, goes directly to the profit. And why is this? Well, it's low maintenance. These buildings are all metal buildings. I mean, they, maybe the downspouts and things like that. We have to cut the lawn. We have to remove the snow, that kind of expenses, but not like in the buildings. Like we don't have toilets. We don't have kitchens. We don't have laundry. So we don't have water at all. We don't have gas. We have electricity. So the utilities also are much lower than in an apartment building. Now, if you have climate control units, then, okay, gas will be there. So when we go to that step, but at the moment, the facilities that we have, we don't have climate control, right? Which is, heated unit, right? That's basically what it is. So the facility is unmanned. I mean, that means we don't have anyone at the facility, no office on the facility, because everything is online. People go online, they rent online, they get instructions on how to get in, they get a key. At this moment, we are using a key, but we're gonna kind of upgrade to a keypad. So you have seen some of if you ever rented a self-storage, there are some self-storage that they give a fob, some they give a key, a code to go into a keypad, right? We are on the physical key, but it's also automated because they go and they get it from a box, right? The payment defaults that I mentioned, and one of the things is the high ratio payment automatic payment, because a lot of people pay with credit card, and it is recurrent. So we don't have to be chasing anyone. I mean, the system will charge the credit card, goes through Moneris deposit the money 2 days later in the account. We get an email and they say, so-and-so pay. That's it. So every day, we get emails because people pay in different dates. It's on an anniversary day. This is not on a month, on a calendar month. It goes into an anniversary. If they rent on the 8th, they're going to pay on the 8th. This is the reason of that. So let me go to some challenges. Well, some challenges is that, some people think that this is not sexy. It's a piece of metal, right, that stores things in a piece of land. I say, okay, what is sexy about that? I mean, people talk about apartment buildings and offices, and we do, right? We do the same thing, right? But, I mean, who cares if it's not sexy? I mean, it's a better cash flow.
All right, I got a comment.
Yeah.
Anything that has low expenses and high revenue spread is really sexy to me.
Oh, okay. Okay, so we're gonna have to change that. Right? So, okay. A challenge on self-storage, and if someone wants to come from the ground up, I mean, build a self-storage in certain areas is the high cost of land, because that is a key factor. If you get a land, like I'm going to show what we got in Champlain. If you get a land, let's say we have a kind of a rule of thumb. Anything that is below $100,000 an acre may work for a self-storage. Anything above that, now you're talking about that you're paying about $3-4 a square foot of land. So when you add that, one of those buildings costs to build about, right now is costing about $80 a square foot. So depending on the size of the building, that's the size of the return, right? I mean, and the cost. So if you get land cheap and is in an area that can have demand, might be a candidate to develop a self-storage. One of the things that is actually different from other assets is that this one needs a lot of marketing, because people will not just come by, or drive by. You need a lot of online. So we use Kijiji, we use the Google Maps. Google Maps is a great tool. People really find us through Google Maps. There's a system that Google has on that. We do Yellow Pages. One that we're doing recently, which is kind of nice, is we send a postcard. It's actually old style, but it's working. So we print postcards, 2,000, 3,000, and we go to the Canada Post and they deliver it to the homes. So these people, everyone gets a postcard and say, oh, there's a self-storage. I didn't know. So we got all the information in the postcard. Another could be a disadvantage, a challenge, is that lenders, for some reason in Canada, they go no more than 65% loan to value. And compared to the US, actually in the US, lenders go up to 90% on self-storage. So there is a different analysis of perception of risk that lenders will go. And so they don't go more than that. So we have to deal with that. So the solution for that is get more cash, raise more capital, right, for buying a facility. There's a higher turnover, and this is not a challenge in itself because that's the industry. People will come in for 2-3 months and they go. They leave the unit, we rent it back again. Nothing to go and repaint. Just for example, if someone leaves one of those units in the apartment buildings, we go in there and technically we have to spend $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 to put it back into the market because people destroy the units, right? In self-storage, we go back, property manager goes in, gets a broom, cleans a little bit, 20 minutes, the unit is ready to rent. We don't spend 1 cent in the unit turnover, unless like recently, unless someone leaves stuff in there. So, okay, the property manager goes, takes the stuff, donates or throws it away. It might cost us maybe $100 to do that. But that's a big difference on a unit turnover versus an apartment building. Right? So I'm going to share some stats. And some of these stats might say, well, it's kind of interesting how they calculate that. But the industry in Canada, on average, they calculate, and that's the way we do it, and actually it works. They calculate around that everyone in Canada will need 5 square feet per person of storage, or 10% of the homes in the area, because this is on an area, 10% of the homes will rent at least 1 unit. So now, if we do the math in there, so there are about 175 million square feet of demand if we take that proration, right? So that means an average of 130 square feet per unit, the country needs about 1.3 million units. Okay, so now look at the next line. Canada has only about 4,000 facilities installed. Now, facilities means, okay, we can go from 50 units to 1,000 units. So we don't know exactly the average, right? It's difficult because they are not kind of very clear stats on that. The association is working on that. But I will say that any one of those facilities on average is no more than 300 units. So now you just multiply by 4,000 facilities, see the deficit of units that are in the country, right? But that's where the challenge comes in. So where is the demand to build these facilities or to acquire facilities? Compared to the US has about 65,000 now facilities. So there are a couple of million units in the US. However, the US is double in the average of square feet per person. It looks like the Americans tend to store more things. And so the number in the US is about 9. So that means they need, when you multiply by 350 million people. So now you're talking about the million of units that they need. But why is all of this? Why is this demand? I mean, I have a person that I follow in the self-storage industry, and this is not mine. He came out with the 5 Ds, right? The 5 Ds is, the first one is dislocation. And what is the meaning of that? That kind of a new term is happening right now. The dislocation means that someone is not going back to the office in downtown. So now they need to work from home. What happened at home? They don't have space. So they need to move certain things around, and now storage is needed. That's basically what the dislocation is causing the demand, because people now are working and they're gonna stay there because many companies, they don't want people to go back. The other one is death, right? As sad as it sounds, but when somebody dies, the relatives, if grandma dies, the relatives are not gonna throw away that couch because the couch is very sentimental. So what they do is they find a storage unit and they bring the couch to the storage unit. And then it's gonna stay there for 6 months later, 1 year, they don't want to throw it away because it's still, it was grandma's couch, right? It's an antique. So that's happened, right? Or, they move a bunch of things to the storage. Divorce is another cause, is another D. In divorce, someone or both of the two persons will move out of a house, and now you got a lot of things that you have to store while you relocate or while you settle somewhere, right? Downsizing is, well, the word is very clear. Someone goes from a 3-bedroom because now the kids left the home and they want to downsize, and they look around and they have a lot of things to store. So they don't want to sell it because maybe in the future the kid will need it. Okay, let's put it in storage. And it goes into storage for 2-3 years. We have some people in Plimpton, Wyoming that have been there for 7 years. They keep paying this storage unit. So, and the other one is decluttering. So that one happens in the spring and in the summer. Now the husband opens the garage and says, "Oh, I got a lot of stuff in here. I gotta move the ski boots and the fishing rods, all of that. Okay, I'm not gonna throw away, so I need to find a storage unit." So those things are creating this demand, and the pandemic in a certain way contributed to that, and it still contributed to that, and it's not gonna go away. A lot of the experts are predicting that this trend that is going up is gonna continue for many, many, many years. So it's a very good time to get into this investment. So now talking about the story, let me just get a little bit of water. This is the story about 342 Longueuil Street, L'Orignal, Ontario. So now what it says that this is French country. The first language in that area is French. It's not English, right? So we had a little bit of a challenge on that. It's still in Ontario, but it's French because this is on the border of Ontario and Quebec. So what happened? We made a decision to say, okay, after we acquired the facility in Plimpton, Wyoming, we said, self-storage, we tested and we said different than the buildings, right? Completely different. So we like it. I said, well, let's start, looking for more facilities. So searching on the internet one day in May, lockdown and everything, I found an ad in Kijiji, right? So an odd listing. Those pictures, if you look close to those pictures, right? See what is happening in there. The grass is high. The buildings look damaged. So the question is, would you consider buying a property like this, with these pictures? So to me, it was said, oh yeah, I want to find out, what is going on in here. So I called the realtor, right? And then the realtor started giving me the details. So the property was on power of sale, foreclosure, right? It's in Canada, by a mortgage company. What happened is the story of this one is that those buildings were put in there in 2011. The owner, the original owner, operated for about 2 years, 2011, 2012, and then he went bankrupt. So the mortgage company took it back. And they didn't know what to do with it, right? So another guy came in, and he was actually a politician. I found out all the entire story of the property. So he bought it in 2015. He never opened anything, right? He never rented. And 2 years after that, he went back to the mortgage company. So now it goes back into the market. When I saw it, it was about 2 years that it was sitting there on the market in the MLS and on Kijiji. One day I said, well, why nobody has actually bought this? But the nice thing is, when I start, finding more, this property came with 22.8 acres of industrial land, right? 56 units of self-storage in 2 buildings, 4,000 square feet each, an office building with a 10 feet high basement that is sitting there for renovation. At 400, it was actually at 459, right? So we actually negotiated and lowered it, right? Someone will say, well, why will you lower it? Okay, well, we lower it to 415. So we ended up purchasing at 415. High risk because the income was zero, right? It was an abandoned facility, technically, right? You saw the pictures, that's actually how it was, right? We didn't know the demand of the area, so we started, calculating the demand, because there are several cities in there around. It's called the township of Champlain, and this is about 1 hour from Ottawa, but it's also 1 hour from Montreal. So if you search this address and you see it on the map, the strategic location of this facility is great. That's why I said I didn't know how someone didn't come and got it before, but okay, luckily for us, right? So it's very strategic. It's on Highway 17, which is the one that connects Montreal with Ottawa along the river. It's a beautiful place. And this is how it looks. So that's the entrance to the small town called L'Orignal. Almost everyone speaks French in there, very little English. So we have to put all the ads that we do, everything has to be in French and in English, right? So we use a lot of Google Translator. So the property looks like that. See the picture on the right. That's 22.8 acres. On the right side, there is a line of 18 houses, very nice houses with swimming pools and all of that stuff, boats and all that. Because there is just about maybe half a kilometer to the river, right? To the Ottawa River, which is one of the big rivers in Canada. You can see the 2 buildings in there from the, this is a Google Earth picture. So that's how it looks. The borderline is a creek, which borders with that. This is a manufacturer, it's an industrial metal manufacturer on the other side of the creek. So it didn't affect the property, right? So see the relationship of what is developed now to the size of the property, right? This is how it looks on the river. You see a lot of boats, There's about 2 or 3 marinas in there. And the marina is actually, most probably is going to be our client, because all of those boats, they got to come out of the water in the winter. They take it out, they wrap it, and they got to park it somewhere. So we already in conversations with one of the owners of one of those marinas to bring the boats to our place, because we got a lot of land. That's parking, right? So we charge for parking. So this is the border, right, between the Ottawa River. The bridge to go to Quebec is about 10 minutes from this property. So it's a heavy traffic in there, in that highway. So now this is how it is. This is extra storage Champlain. Now you can see there is no high grass. There is a chain link fence. It's 1,100 linear feet of chain link fence that we put in there. We put all the gravel. It's not paved. This is not asphalt. It's gravel. So they excavate and they put gravel. So you see one RV in there is parked on the top picture. On the left picture, you see the 2 buildings, and you see some people in there unloading. And on the right side, this is an interesting story. The right side is kind of a picture of the land. And this land was very high grass, and it's very expensive to cut that. So a contractor came to us and they say, hey, why don't you let the farmers cut your grass for free? They take the hay and they will maintain that. So that's how it looks today. See, they came in actually a couple of weeks ago when I went there. The guys were cutting the grass, the hay. They pack it, for the cows, and they take it and they leave the property like that. The neighbors are so happy, right? And we don't have to spend 1 cent on cutting the grass on that side of the property. We just cut it in front of the yellow house that you see in there. That is the office. That is going to become an office. Right? So Extra Storage Champlain is open. Those buildings right now today, you will see the graph in here today, are about 92% occupied from empty, right? From the picture that you saw a few slides ago. So what we have done, because this is the capital that we had to put at the beginning, so we had to put about 175,000 at the beginning. And so we did the gravel, we put the signs, we put cameras, we put the chain link fence, very, very expensive chain link fence. And we did all of that, right? We have to do the environmental also. That was a key thing, because the mortgage company kind of thought that there could be some contamination from the other side of the creek. But that property is completely clean. We even have water in the basement of the house. So we extract clean water from the ground. Obviously, we throw it away. There's a pump, right? But it's very clean water on this land. So I'm just going to show some of the numbers because this is the start point. You see that little dog in there is our anniversary, right? We got this property in September 9th of last year. So we just got the benchmark of 1 year. And this is what happening, right? So we put 175. So at the purchase time in September, the value cost was 590, not taking into account the land. The land at that moment, I mean, maybe didn't have that much of a value because it was not in, too much grass and all of that. But then the mortgage company, because they wanted to get rid of this property, they gave us 85% loan to value on the purchase. So they gave us that mortgage, 368, without, asking. They came forward and said, yeah, we'll give you. And they gave us 6 months free, in the sense, not free, 6 months of not paying nothing, right? Not paying. So we started paying 6 months later. So because we told them, I said, well, we need to start up this property, and then we need, to get clients and all of that. So give us. So what was the income at purchase? 0. What was the cap rate at purchase? 0. Okay, that's nice numbers, right? So we started renting the place. People start coming in. This is like the field of dreams, right? You build it and they will come. Well, they came because we put a lot of publicity and, word of mouth and all of that, but they came. And now those units are rented about 92%. So now that property is producing about 6,200, give or take, because it changes, right, on a monthly basis. The expenses are about 2,200. We paid the mortgage company 1960. So we extrapolate and expect an NOI of about 49,000. Well, if I divide, when the formula, if I divide the NOI by a cap rate, it will give me the value of the business. And so if I divide it by 6%, which is about the cap rate going in self-storage now, between 6-7% in that area. So I said, well, I'm just going to do it at 6. The value of that business today is about 800,000 without the land. So we did a research on the land, and just a few blocks from here, the land is selling about 55,000 an acre. Very similar to ours. So I said, okay, well, we'll calculate it about 30,000. Let's say we'll go lower. So the value of that property today is 1.2 million, right? So from 590 that it started and now creating that income, right? So the cash on cash return, if you divide it by 175 is 13%. That's a very nice return, better than any mutual funds. So, and if we were to sell today, and I'm sure we can sell it at 1.2 million. Actually, we have received a couple of calls if we want to sell, right? But we don't want to do it. That's not the project. But if we were to sell, we will make about 400%. So the numbers are there, but the risk was high when we came in, right? And the work also has been a lot of work. This is the software that we use. It's called Easy Storage. See the nice curve in the center, right? If you can see that in your computers. The curve went from 0 to 81%. Now it's 81 because we added the parking spots, and the parking spots are not all rented. So the software takes into account that. But the storage units, they are rented about 92% today. See how it's going up? Now it's gonna level off because we don't have any more to rent, because now we are running out of units to rent. So it's gonna level off, and it's actually level off right now, right? So it's gonna level off about 7,000, but you see last month on the left, you see 9,000 income, right? Because some people came in and they pay few months ahead, right? Which is some people pay like that, right? So that's what is happening now. Now, what is the future? What is the future of this project? The future, we call it phase 2, because phase 1 was the starting point, from 0 to today. Okay, so we completed phase 1. So now phase 2 is this. That drawing right there is showing 2 more buildings, because right now we got only 2, so we are putting 2 more, right? The red lines in there that you see, those are containers. And containers now, they look very good. They put a roll-up door, and they put partitions inside. They painted, very nice. There's a couple of manufacturers in Ontario, and we can rent that exactly as one of the units in the buildings. So we already ordered actually 3 containers because we're gonna be growing with containers in the meantime that we can put 2 more buildings in there. And the reason is because the demand is coming and we want to keep offering units. And one of those buildings takes about a year to from the ground up to build, permits and all of that. The yellow squares in there are parking. So we are not concentrating a lot of the land in parking because we don't know the demand yet in parking. So we are testing it actually. This is a test this year. before the snow comes in. The snow in this place is going to come in pretty soon. In a few weeks, we're going to have snow in there, right? So that is phase 2. And I'll talk a little bit at the end, but this is part of the new investment opportunity that we're going to be presenting, not in this meetup, but we're going to be presenting is those 2 buildings, plus the containers in there. So we'll see that later. So we have a vision for the next phase 3 and beyond. That's 5-7 years, because the land is there. So there is demand for other things like workshops. That means somebody can come in and have an office and have storage. So those metal buildings can be done that way. I mean, they are higher ceiling. We can store RVs. Some people are looking to store the RV, but in a covered place, right? These buildings are not for RVs because it's a low door. It's about 7.5 feet. Right? So we can put contractor yards. We can do a flea market, and maybe residential lots. Maybe the city is not very keen in residential lots, but maybe I'd say maybe we can convince them in a couple of years to allow us, because residential lots can be placed on the other side of the houses, right? That line in there on the right side is houses, so we can place residential lots on the other side if they allow us. The services are right there on the street where it says Long Hill Street. So now I'm just gonna contribute in here to the learning of the audience. As I've done it in the past, we want to put mistakes that we want you to avoid if you're gonna go into self-storage. One of them is you gotta check the cost. It's commercial. This is not residential, so the costs are higher. So you need to ask, or you need to get a mortgage broker like Sua. You know, he will tell you all the costs on commercial. Not having a good budget for initial costs, that's an important one because it can slow down any growth in the self-storage. So you get experts, you get the inspection and all of that. This is a key one. Now viewing all units in person before the inspection. So that's a key one, and we always do that. You know, go and see the unit, walk, if it's a facility, existing facility, walk through the facility, see how the doors are and everything, right? So you gotta go and pay for that. Not interviewing property management. Even if you have an actual one, if you like we did in Sarnia, but they were managing apartment buildings. They didn't know how to manage self-storage. So we had to train them in the software and all of that in order to manage the self-storage. Now they have learned, right? So you need to spend some time on that. Now the marketing plan is an important one, right? You have to develop. That's something that, I'm putting it because it was one of the things that we didn't have at the very beginning, right? Having a solid marketing plan. That Marilu is on that. I mean, she is the one on the marketing, and she's doing a great job on that on Kijiji and taking calls and texting and all of that. In Champlain, another thing that makes a lot of difference is in Champlain we have a call center. The people of the software, Easy Storage, they offer a call center for a price. But those girls in the call center, is in the US actually, those girls in the call center, they do a great job. So a call center can make a difference in a self-storage because people like to do things over the phone, right, with someone, right? And it's not someone in Champlain, it's in Utah. The lack of working capital, if you're the managing partner, so you need to plan for that. If you prepare to raise more or use your own. And not having boots on the ground. This is key, right? So in every city that we go, like in the Champlain was a new one. It's a French territory, French country. So we had to go but we found people. I mean, we have a fantastic property manager in Champlain. So she's the one that takes care of everything in there. And, we go there often. And she is bilingual. See, that's one of the key things. In this case, in that region, the property manager has to be fully bilingual because it's a lot of a lot of people they call and they want to talk in French. And so the girls in the call center, they don't know French. So they get a little bit frustrated. So they send an email, hey, hey, we need help in here. They want to talk to someone in French. So here goes, our property manager goes and she takes care of that. Right? Okay, so now on the tips, if you decide to invest, okay, depending how you're gonna invest. But if you go and look at a facility, definitely has to be extra land because there is no point of buying a couple of buildings that you cannot expand. When we purchased the one in Plimpton, Wyoming, and it's Wyoming, but it's in Ontario, there was about half an acre, right? So half an acre gave us the opportunity to put 2 more buildings. And so we're going in phases. We just completed one building 2 weeks ago, and it started to rent, right? So that building took about a year, and now we're gonna start working on the second building to have it in the summer, because these buildings they go on a concrete pad, and there is no way to build in the winter, so they have to be only in the summer. So it's only a window of about 6 months to build this. So it has to be everything ready, permits and all of that. So extra land has to be available in the purchase, right? You have to learn, training. There's a ton of learning and a ton of material with the association, the Canadian Self-Storage Association in the U.S. The systems that they use in the U.S. are very, very similar, not much different to manage one of these facilities. You can partner with someone with experience that can save you, sometimes if you want to be a passive investor, then you can partner and be, part owner of one of these places, which is basically the project that we are offering, right? We are offering ownership on Champlain and on a new facility. So another important thing is to calculate the demand. Very important to go and know what to expect. When we calculated the demand in Champlain, and the way to calculate this, a formula and all of that, but you need to see how many facilities are in a radius of, 15 kilometers, all of that. There's a formula for that. We came up that the demand in that area was satisfied only about 50%, which meant that comfortable, we can put 100 more units in Champlain, and eventually they're gonna rent. That's what the demand is telling us. And it's actually proven because those 56 units, they were rented in about 7 months. Right? So the demand is there. So now we say, okay, it's time to put another building in Champlain. And now we're gonna do containers, because the containers, they can give us a container with 4 units in about 6 weeks. Now we cannot get a building in 6 weeks. I mean, a building will take longer than that. Now select the software. I mean, we selected Easy Storage. There are a few software. They deal with Moneris and everything with the credit card. No problems with Easy Storage. And the advantage is that the call center is connected to the software. And so when someone calls the call center, they can rent directly in the software because they have access to the software. They create the contract. They make the person sign everything. And we don't know about it until the email comes in and say, hey, John Smith rented unit 826. Oh, great. And I go into the system, or Marilu goes into the system, and this made by the call center. So it's a great service. Right? We pay for it, but it's a great service. And the other one is go and meet with the city officials. And it was kind of a little bit of funny, I think, because when we got there and we saw this property, I said, well, can we meet with the senior planner and the mayor? So I kind of started arranging, and they were very, very open. It's a small town. And we met with the mayor, and the mayor was so enthusiastic that finally someone from Vancouver is coming to take care of this dump. That's how they call it, right? They call it that it was a dump because the grass was high, the buildings were abandoned, there were no lights, and actually he gave us a second meeting, and he's now hyper about containers and warehouses and all of that. So it's good to meet with them and be friends, and join the Canadian Association and have fun. Very good. So have fun. We do have fun, actually, when we go to Champlain and we will go to Plimpton, Wyoming. Marilu likes to do things in this self-storage. Every time we go there, she does things, right? I mean, goes around and, and do some chores. So it's like a facility, that is enticed to that. So I'm just gonna conclude in here and say, who we are for the people that don't know who we are. Our company is called RMDR Global, and we've been investing with investor partners since 2016 in Sarnia. So we started, like Rick mentioned in there, we started with a sixplex. Now we got 52 units in apartment buildings. But now in self-storage, Plimpton, Wyoming has 103 units and 56 in Champlain. So now we, on the math, we are 159 units. We call it income units in self-storage. And we are already with another facility on the pipeline. So it's long-term holdings. We do the same strategy in the self-storage. We do a refinance. We can get some of the initial investment back to the investors, give or take, 5 years. And, ownership is stay there. We have, we got all the control system, the professional management. We look for cap rates about 7%, high potential, like, land having to expand. We set up a complete team on the ground. We got contractors, apart from the lawyer and the realtor, but we got the contractor, the property management manager on site, on the ground, right? And we study and we visit the area, like, we haven't stopped flying. I mean, people will say you kept flying. We kept flying. We went to Ontario in May, in June, in September, in November, in the winter, no, because they locked down. So we went on all the way back until, we returned in February, then when, in June, and 2 weeks ago. So I don't know, maybe 5-6 times. So we do all of that, right? And because we gotta be in there, right? This is the portfolio that we have. You see the buildings in there, but also you see the 2 facilities in Plimpton, Wyoming and Champlain. And all of that is in Sarnia. All the apartment buildings are in Sarnia. And so this is, I want to introduce to Marilu here so everyone can see her. So, so in the camera. So
hi, Marilu.
Hi, how are you?
It's Rick.
And Ruben's better half.
And yeah, Sue is in Bali, so we're gonna go and visit Sue.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, I will be.
Yeah, or send us a little hot weather from there.
Yeah. So
well, if you go over there,
that's
if you go to Champlain in the wintertime, bring your shovel.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's a lot of snow. Then. That's a lot of snow.
Actually, last year Champlain didn't have a lot of snow.
No, not last year, but
Yeah.
this year they're predicting.
But this year they are predicting, but we never know.
Yeah.
But we are ready to go.
We're ready. Yeah. So
you guys are a power team. You guys are a total power team. Like you've built, looking at your portfolio now, I remember in 2011, I think it was, no, it was probably 2012. You and I were talking, Ruben, about buying your first apartment building.
Yep.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh yeah.
You sold your property, and when did you sell that first property? You had that Plex or something, and was it Port Coquitlam or Coquitlam?
It was in Port Coquitlam. Yeah, we sold it in 2013, actually. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and you sold it to buy your first apartment building, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. And then look at you now. I mean, you have, how many doors do you have in total now, including the self-storage?
It will be 159, 52, 210,
wow.
211, something like that.
So,
amazing.
Like when I think about an investor and opportunities for investors to invest with people, looking at your track record and the successes that you've had, buying and holding these properties, improving them, increasing the value, cash flowing them. What investor couldn't win in that scenario, right? It's amazing. You guys are a total power team. Investors should be jumping at your deal.
Thank you. It's been good for the investors, partners that we have. We have refinanced the buildings now 3 times. So we are getting ready to refinance the self-storage. And everyone benefits on the refinance. So it's been good. Yeah.
And like I've explained to the audience many times about refinancing, when you refinance a property, that's pre-tax money that you get out.
Yeah.
So it's the most valuable money you will ever invest. It's the highest return money you'll ever invest because it's pre-tax money. And you don't have to pay tax on that money until you actually sell the property, because it's actually capital gains, which you don't owe tax on until you sell the property. So you can use that money, lend it to another corporation, buy another building. There's so many things you can do with that money outside of buying a Ferrari.
Yeah, that's true. No,
appreciating assets.
We don't do that.
Ferrari. Well, cars and stuff like that. I don't have any. And I have nothing against people who do that, but that's not my thing, because it's a depreciating asset.
Yeah.
I invest in appreciating assets only, and they got to have double-digit returns.
Yeah.
Just like Ruben and Marilu.
Yeah. Talking about refinance, Rick, the building in Plimpton, Wyoming, the new building in the self-storage, actually was financed by a refinance on the Sixplex. We got about 180,000 from the refinance, and we put it in the building. So it went from the Sixplex to it's the same company, right? It's the same company, so we were able to do that.
Sure.
But so that's how we did it.
That's awesome. Yes, so for investors, you investing with Ruben, I believe what you're offering, Ruben, is cash flow, and they would become shareholder partners, right? Investors?
Yes.
Yeah, so shareholder partners. So you have an equity position in the property, so you actually own part of the self-storage, and along with that ownership stake, you get the cash flow and you get all the upside and benefits of the refinance. So what the refinance benefit is, that cash comes out, an investor owns part of that cash, right? Because it comes out of the property. Ruben and Marilu reinvested into another property. Now that person actually, because part of that is their money, they actually will own part of that next property.
Yeah.
And that's what I do too, is investors, they're basically, I call it recycling their capital. Like when their money comes out too, that's another way, right? So when you return their capital after 3 or 5 years, you can reinvest that capital in another project as well. And now they have an ownership stake in a previous project and an ownership stake in a new project with recycled money that's been returned to them that they reinvest. And so and that's the compounding. It's those compounding layers that create massive wealth in real estate investing. And so Ruben knows the formula. Anybody who partners with Ruben and Marilu will be a part of that. And it's just the best way in the world to create wealth. So congratulations, Ruben and Marilu.
This is a great example of taking action and learning as you go, right? Ruben
Absolutely.
And Marilu. It's quite amazing to see how far you guys gone. I'm very proud of you guys, man.
Yeah.
I'll just say,
Thank you.
And for investors out there, like going out and creating your own business in self-storage and multifamily
Very
and
different.
all that. If you have a day job and you have a family and all that sort of stuff, you're starting another business. Make no mistake, it's not passive. It's a business. And the thing about it is, Marilu and Ruben, just like myself, just like Sua, when we create investments, investors make just as much money as we do, but they don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And so it's a total win-win, right? You put your money in. Ruben and I and Sua do all the work, and Andrew and whoever else it is. but investors make just as much money. So why go out and start your own business when you could, go on a vacation or go hang out with your family instead and let us do all the work?
Yeah. That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you. I think maybe what I can do, Rick, is just show, and it's very brief, 30 seconds in here,
Sure.
because this one here is the next project. Okay.
Show us what you got coming up.
Okay.
It's really exciting.
So that is a facility that we have under contract. And the way we are doing it is exactly like you mentioned, Rick. This is gonna be part of the portfolio with Champlain. So whoever buys shares in the company that owns Champlain is gonna also own part of this. This is a 70-unit facility in the vicinity of Sarnia as well. See the land in the back, the space, and on the side, the amount of space that is to expand. So it meets all the criteria. We already did the inspection. There are certain things to fix in the buildings, but nothing major. So it meets all the criteria. So we are going to be presenting soon. I mean, so whoever is interested, we can get into an informative session about how this is going to be paired down with the expansion in Champlain and what will be the benefits of the of both projects. Yeah. So.
All right. So you're going to do individual like private presentations for people on what you're offering, it looks like, and your pro forma numbers, the expressed returns, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So we starting next week because we have a closing date on this one on November 30. We already have secured the 65% loan with a credit union in Sarnia. So we just gotta get the difference with that in Champlain. It's a very, very nice project actually. It's kind of very good returns and all of that when we put the two facilities together, right?
Yeah.
So
it looks good. And like you said, you got lots of room to expand and increase the net operating income, increase the value of the property, and increase cash flow for investors and the whole bit. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, very good. That's all for us. If anyone, I don't know if anyone has questions that we can ask. How do you want to handle?
Let's go to. All right. You guys see that?
Yeah.
You guys see my screen?
Yeah, I can see it.
All right. Okay. Good. So I will move along here. So that was Ruben. So as far as self-storage goes, we talked about, some of the game changers in self-storage really. It's really what Ruben is presenting is it's self-storage investing made easy, right? So invest with Ruben. You don't have to build a business, but you get the same returns. I talked about that earlier. Invest with someone who's acquiring self-storage already. Ruben's the guy. Or somebody else you might know. I don't know a lot of other people that are doing what Ruben's doing in this space, in this asset class. So really, he's the guy. The big opportunity really is self-storage values are increasing due to COVID. So Ruben talked about that. So the asset is just going to continue to increase in value. Ruben, also touched on the fact that it's the third least risky or second least risky asset class in real estate. So, it's a really stable, great investment. Competition is fierce due to the stability of the asset. So there's huge competition to buy these. So if you ever wanted to sell it or with his investors, then there's a huge market for the acquisition of these properties. They're easy to sell. They're very liquid. There's a pent up demand when it comes to people wanting to rent or to a space from a facility like Ruben's. So after COVID, that's only going to increase because people are going to move again and they're going to downsize and all that sort of stuff. So really, do you want to run a self-storage business yourself or, partner with Ruben? That's the way to do it. I'm going to invest with Ruben.
Well,
Thanks, Ruben. Huge thanks to you for your presentation. It was awesome. And this is Ruben's contact information. So make sure you connect with Ruben. Take a picture of the screen, whatever you have to do. Ruben will also be publishing on the Facebook page. So do a follow-up, Ruben, publish on the Facebook page.
Yep.
Your contact information so everybody can have it, can grab it there. We'll also put it on the Meetup page. And so it's all good.